Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another options and play video update. So, trying to compose myself so I don't sound giddy, but I am very excited that earnings season is back, and it really is just going to get busier and busier for the remainder of July. So, this coming week, I'm not going to ramble on too much because there's a lot to go over. This coming week, we actually do have one interesting name before the open, Halliburton, and it's priced in at about 1 point. And the reason why it's interesting this quarter specifically is because Schlumberger is usually the first to report. Actually, it's almost always the first energy stock to report, but for whatever reason, Halliburton's the first this time. So first report means uncertainty is the greatest, right? And that should mean a bigger move because it's higher volatility. Chart looks kind of tight, right? Been hanging around, and it feels like it's ready for a move, but I guess I don't really have a strong opinion on it. I haven't traded this one in a while, and I guess I would prefer to wait and see what they have to say, because that could really set up some swing trade opportunities, whether it's Halliburton or just across energy. So I'm kind of curious to see what they have to say because it's really going to like form my opinion for other energy stocks. After the close on Tuesday, IBM 7 points is what's priced in here. Big Blue has really been dead money for a while. Just hasn't done much of anything in months. Coming off a lackluster quarter in April. Option pricing, it's not outrageously high, but it's also not as cheap as I have seen it in the past. So it's kind of a tough call to me, because it hasn't been as big of a mover recently as it once was. I suppose my bias is bullish, but I just don't know if I have enough conviction to do anything with it more than maybe something like really low debit, super speculative. For the open on Tuesday, Lockheed, so it's a big aerospace defense report. 16 points is what's expected. It's been kind of out of play too. Aerospace defense stocks really haven't been acting all that great. The March correction, I mean, really took a toll because up until that point it had just been absolute great trending name, and then it broke the trend, and now it's really struggled to reclaim or reset that trend, right? So, to me, this report is going to be interesting to see if A, if it's good, and B, if it is good, if it can get back through some of these levels and really start to reestablish that strength that it saw most of last year and the beginning of this year. I think anything I do with it would revolve around trying to get risk down or something longer term. So longer term call spreads, call something. I feel more bullish, but I just not necessarily sure it's going to be a huge move right away. After the close on Tuesday, ISRG, so 40 to 41 points is what's expected. Now, earlier today, this would have been one of those names I'd be focused on for a potential breakout through like this key long-term level. After today, it seems to have already started to go, right? So, expectations a lot higher. Stock has run pretty aggressively to the upside. So that to me is makes me a little bit more cautious on it. I have played this in the past. Historically, it does move, although the last few quarters the move has been kind of tightening. So, stock that's had a real sharp move right ahead of earnings, options are priced a little bit above what it typically has been moving recently. It seems more of like an avoid right now. iRobot. So about 10.5 points is what's expected here. Now, there's only had like an okay number last quarter, but the stock has had a really, really, really big rally. Pretty heavily shorted. Usually a move around earnings. Option pricing actually doesn't seem too bad. It seems like it could leave some room either way. So I'm thinking I might look at a volatility strategy on this one. Snap. 3.5 points is what's expected on Snap. Bullish bias here. Coming off surprisingly strong quarter, has acted great. Off its high into trend support, and it's actually within striking distance of its all-time high. So more bullish bias on that one. Texas Instruments, also Tuesday night. 775 or so is what's priced in. Pretty solid chart. You can see it's just kind of hanging out right around the top of yearly resistance. Semis have had decent numbers this quarter, and this could be due for a breakout. I guess my only hesitation is that options are a little bit elevated versus what it tends to move. So I think anything I would do with it would have to be spreads, flies, something to get the overall debit down on it. Before the open on Wednesday, Biogen, so first big bio report. 16 points is what's priced in, and it is not the most interesting name in the group to me for earnings because the major headline around this, which just came out a couple weeks ago, was their Alzheimer's update, and I think most traders are a lot more interested in that than they are earnings and revenues. Next update, Alzheimer's related, is beginning of September, so I might just hold off and wait to maybe plan a trade like closer to that. And HCA also wins it before the open, so you might not be familiar with it. It's one of the largest hospital providers. They're priced in at about 7.5 points. I am kind of undecided on it. The reason why is because they missed pretty badly last quarter, and it's been kind of hanging around. Just had like a recent bounce, but it is close enough to support where it seems like another bad number could do some damage. I haven't seen stuff really get punished on the downside yet, and that was a theme of last quarter too. So I guess that's where my hesitation lies, is that um, I don't know if it's going to be another quarter where they just don't really hit stocks. It's like, if it's bad or if it's good, either they're flat or they go up. So I'm really on the fence with this, and it's probably going to be more of a game time decision for me. After the close on Wednesday, Chipotle. So biggest price to move of the week, 80 to 82 points is what they're looking for there. The Burrito King. I have absolutely no clue what to make of this into earnings because it jumped quite a bit on last quarter and it's continued to run. But Domino's just smoked estimates and barely budged on its report, and I think expectations are as high for Chipotle as they were for Domino's. Option pricing also really elevated to me, so I think this looks more like an avoid. LVS, 375 is what's priced in on this first casino report, so that makes it more interesting, kind of like Halliburton. Uh, like a lot of travel hospitality stocks, been stuck in a lower range. Expectations probably pretty low, and there might be room for upside. Right on the chart, you can see if the numbers aren't as bad as feared. Not a high conviction idea for me, but might be worth a look as like a speculative bullish candidate. Microsoft, the main event. 11.5 points is what's priced in. It's the first of the tech titans. Very consistent recent history of solid numbers, and it's just been mostly riding this trend higher. It's rolled into the bottom of the trend here. I guess I'd expect numbers to be good again. I just don't know if there's going to be a ton of upside because I do think expectations are awfully high, and people are probably expecting good numbers. So, um, maybe you get a move ahead of earnings as people position for good numbers because it is at the low of the trend. So that might be something I look at versus an actual trade on the report on the day of earnings. Tesla. so yeah, this is like a wild card to me. 225 points is what's priced in. It's already moved a ton off deliveries, and it had a similar pattern last quarter when it had a big run off of deliveries, and then it didn't do a lot on earnings. So like right here, I have absolutely no idea what to make of it. I mean, it could have a huge move. It could do nothing. I really have no clue. And that, to me, doesn't warrant laying out the risk. So I don't think I'm going to be involved with this. It could definitely be interesting, but I really have no idea how to approach it. So I might just get my popcorn ready and watch. Before the open on Thursday, Twitter. 415 is what's priced in here. Recent hack definitely make this quarter more volatile. It didn't have a great report in April, but the stock snapped back and has continued to run after that. And I mean, now it's in the headlines, and I do feel like it has room in either direction, potentially more skewed to the downside though. Options, uh, not cheap, and I do think that there could be a path to 4 to 5, but with the options prices in a little over 4, I think it would have to be some sort of strategy that got risk down a lot to make it interesting to me. After the bell on Thursday, Intel. All right, so first big, oh, well, not first big. I mean, another big report, but also there's two semi reports on Thursday. So 325 is what's priced in. Stock has been in a very tight range over the past month. Seems due for a move. There have been a couple higher volatility quarters on this recently, and the pattern looks like it could create another one to me. I suppose I'd lean bullish because the recent numbers have been pretty solid. But I will acknowledge that underneath, it is close enough to a support where a surprisingly bad number could do some damage to the downside. So maybe volatility strategy, but maybe something more skewed to the bull side. Skyworks, 9 points is what's priced in on this. So kind of an interesting speculative semi name. Strong chart. 5G plays have had some good reports already this quarter. It does look set up for higher prices, but this might be more of like a swing candidate to me because it doesn't typically move a ton when it reports. I mean, it hasn't really had a huge move on earnings in a while. All right, wrapping things up. Friday, American Express. So 9 points is what's expected on this. It hasn't been much of an earnings story in recent quarters. Sorry, 5 points, not 9 points. 5 points was expected. And I think MasterCard and Visa are just in a class of their own compared to this. Um, those two don't always react to AXP. Still, though, I feel like I'd prefer to look at a sympathy trade on either MasterCard or Visa for the AXP number versus potentially playing AXP itself. And Honeywell. So big industrial, kind of a wild card setup. 7 points is what's priced in. I think expectations are really low on industrials right now, and this was a leader for a while last year before March hit. It has exposure to aerospace, which is probably contributing to the kind of like the lackluster action on it. Option pricing isn't cheap, but I feel like there's also kind of like a smaller possibility that it could see like a FedEx type move where expectations very low, kind of stuck in a lower range, surprisingly good, and maybe you get like a surprisingly big pop. So I'm kind of on the fence with it, but it's later in the week, so I'll see how the week goes and maybe do something with it then. And then Schlumberger, it's priced in $1.40, but I mean it's almost certainly going to move off of Halliburton, and it's not the number one name to report, or that's not the first name to report, so probably not going to do anything with it. And that's that. So lots going on next week. A lot of big names, a lot of big priced in moves, expecting a lot of action. I'm really looking forward to it. So if you like this video and you're looking for earnings, trade ideas, option swing trade ideas, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options in play. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay well, and I will talk to you all on Monday.